Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello and welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. My name is Cody Sizemore, and I'm joined here by my lovely co-host, Maria Casillas. And I have to say, I got to be honest with you guys, I'm really tired of talking about money. I'm really tired of it, man.
Are you
not-
fatigued?
Yeah, very, very fatigued. Not really, but that's just a little bit of an insight of what we're actually going to be talking about today. But before we get into any of that, just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting our show every single week. If you're the type of person who has been listening every single week, you are the people that we call our every weekers. And, this is why we keep doing it. The fact that you guys keep showing up is what keeps us showing up, So we don't make any money from this. We don't do ads or anything like that. We really do this just because we feel like there's a need and a void in this space for us as financial coaches. And that's why we started this whole podcast in the first place. It was actually out of a joke to where I said, I was talking to Maria and I asked her, do we know of any financial coaches podcasts out there? And at that time, there weren't. I'm like 98% sure that we were the first one. And now there's a ton, so we're kind of trailblazers. It is what it is. But we appreciate you guys being here. And if this is your first time listening, welcome to the club, man. Glad to have you, So there's a really good place for us to connect as well. All of us as listeners to really create that good community. And that is simply just our Facebook group. So you can type into your search bar on Facebook, type in the words, The Financial Coaches Community by New Money Habits. That's our group. You're welcome to join in for free. Say hi. We'll say hi back. Ask questions. We'll answer them. All that good stuff. So with all that being said, Maria, how are you today? And are you ready to talk about this exhausting topic?
I am. I'm doing well today, and I find it a little humorous that you keep playing on the exhaust words.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm excited to talk about this topic. It is interesting because very much like a couple weeks ago, it's part of the research that I had done, and as we're just trying to figure out over the new year what's going on with people, and this term came up, and it said money fatigue, and you and I were like, that's interesting. So I just want to unpack it a little bit with you through conversation. I'm not pretending to be any sort of expert on this today, and I know that you're not either, but hopefully as we have this conversation, our listeners can go, oh, that actually is something that I could see people kind of struggling with right now. So yeah, without further ado, let's just jump into that discussion. You go with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Very good. So I think one of the things that people struggle with is the whole idea of there's money decisions everywhere that we need to make. And even if you're not somebody who is hyper aware of all of the money that you have, we work with people who we kind of help get them into a spot where they're having meetings every once in a while with each other, as we discussed last week, where they actually know where their money's going. But if we're talking about people who are just the regular Joe on the street, they don't typically do that. So why would they have money fatigue? Someone might ask. Well, I think it's because we are literally forced with all of these decisions every single day. Forced is not the right word. Faced is what I meant to say. We're faced with these decisions every single day. And it could be something as small as subscriptions. I don't know. You've seen that. I think it's Rocket Money, right? We are not, we're not, being paid by Rocket
affiliated.
Money. No, we're not affiliated in any way. But there's that commercial where, you see people in the ice bucket or whatever, and they're trying to, earn their way out by telling the person how many subscriptions they have. And the person has no idea. I don't know, 5. And they're like, oh, you have 15 subscriptions. There are subscriptions everywhere. We have some here at New Money Habits too. So I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that we have to make those decisions all the time. You have something like Amazon Prime where it's oh, it's free for the month. Okay, but if you don't want to continue after that, you either have to set an alarm to stop it, or you need to just realize that you're going to be paying that $15 every month for the rest of your life. Um, so there are all of these things everywhere, and even just talking, I feel my Sicilian coming out of me where I'm talking fast about the whole thing. It is exhausting.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think a big part of the fatigue, the exhaust that comes from it is that it's literally with every single thing that we do,
Yeah.
which it kind of sucks, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Like there's that phrase that people say, and I think that they say it. There's truth to it, but I think that when people say this phrase, it's a coping mechanism in certain ways, where they say like, well, money isn't everything, right?
Hmm.
And I agree. Like money is not everything. It's not the most
Hmm.
important thing in the world. It's not everything, right?
Hmm.
But what I will say is that money does affect everything,
Hmm. Yep.
and that everything affects your money as well, right? Um, and what I mean by that is like, you know, a big part of just quote unquote adulting is paying bills.
Hmm.
Like we have to pay for our water. Like the
Hmm.
number one thing that's like essential to life has
Hmm.
money attached to it. Like we
Hmm.
have to pay for our food, we have to pay for our shelter, we have to pay for our car, we have to pay for our car insurance, we have to pay for our gas for our car, we pay for our registration for our car, we have to pay taxes on our car, we have to pay like all these types of things. Like there's money everywhere, over and over and over and over, and then we're getting taxed, and then we're getting taxed on our taxes and everything like that. Like it's just it's all over the place. And then
Yeah.
you bring up the subscription thing, which let's talk about streaming services as a whole, right? Like when they first came out, they're supposed to be the thing that replaced the cost of cable. You
Yeah.
know, you pay a fraction of what you were for cable, and you get
Mhm.
all these different options, right?
Mhm.
Now you're paying for 7, 8, 9 different streaming services, and you're paying just as much for it, if not more, than what you were originally paying for cable, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And before, I'm gonna interrupt just to complain for a second. It used to be you were paying so that you wouldn't have to deal with advertisements because they
right,
weren't getting the money from the advertisers, and now they're getting the money from the advertisers and from you. And
right,
so yeah,
right.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and hey, like dating, um, you
Which
have
I
to
haven't
pay
had
for
to
the
do
you have
for
to
a
pay for
long
the
time.
cost of, taking someone out to dinner, but, you could also sign up for I'm not on this site, so I don't know exactly what it's called, like the Tinder Plus or Tinder Gold, or I don't know what it's called, like the paid version of Tinder where you get
Uh-huh.
like, unlimited swipe. I don't know what it is, but there's some form of you can pay to have like, the best chance to get a match on the
Yeah.
dating site. Like, so there's so many of these things that it feels like every day you wake up and you're essentially living to make money so that you can then pay for things.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting.
It is.
That's exhausting. It actually allows people to start questioning what's the point in all of
Mhm.
this, you know?
Mhm.
And when you get to that kind of place to where like there's some apathetic feelings, there's these feelings of like, well, nothing matters because I'm never going to be able to do this anyways. Um, that can actually really lead to it being challenging as for us as coaches, because maybe someone has just kind of accepted their fate that this is just how it's always going to be, and they don't want to look for help. And why do they not want to look for help? Well, because they know that it's going to cost more money,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's something that is going to be an uphill battle for us as coaches, um, for as long as we're in business, And I
Yeah.
think that it's up to us to try and help people realize that, like, we can escape that rat race. Now, are you going to be completely away from it, like 100%? No, no. Even if you pay off your house, you don't actually own your house. You're leasing it from the government because you pay your property taxes. And that's a
Mhm.
whole other can of worms that I don't even want to get into because I don't want to get into it. Uh, so no, you won't ever fully get away from it, but can you find relief from it? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, yeah. Yeah, you can. And I think one of the ways, and I'm not always the one who jumps in with practical ways, but I'm going to right here. I think one of the ways that we can help people with that is through helping them make some decisions ahead of time, because I really think that part of the problem, if you will, is decision fatigue. And like you mentioned, like streaming services and how you've got all of these now they're adding up to more than cable. Could we do out without some of them? And could we just choose a couple that we are willing to do? And the same thing goes with
There's a phrase
decisions
of
like
less is more.
yes, yes. And it could also go with something like tipping. So
Mhm.
very much like, property taxes is a topic that you don't want to get into. The
I hate them.
idea of tipping is not a topic I really want to get into either. And so I won't. But I will say that if you make a decision ahead of the situation, whether or not you're going to tip into this situation versus this one, what you like to reward with your tip money, then some of that decision fatigue actually goes away because you're not having to make that decision in every single moment. You've made it ahead of the moment, which I know intuitively we kind of all know that this is true, Cody, because if you use any modicum of a budget, any modicum of a plan, that's what you're doing. You're deciding ahead of time what's important to you, how you want to spend that money, and then if you just enact that plan, you're actually just putting those decisions into practice, but you're not having to make that decision every single moment, right?
Mhm.
Do you see where I'm going with that? I
Yeah.
do one thing with my clients where we have a calculator of what to do with their surplus money, because some people will just say, oh, I just want to put all of it towards whatever goal I'm working towards. But I do have several clients who are like, that doesn't feed me. I feel like I'm not getting some of the other things that I'm really excited about. And so before they even have the surplus, we go through a little thing where we have them decide what are the top 5 things that you're wanting to, put this money towards. What percentage would you like to do? So it kind of gives them the opportunity to prioritize in the order that's good for them when it's not emotional. And then they just have to enact later on. Then they know, okay, I've got this $100, 5 of it goes here, 25 of it goes here, and 90 goes of it here. Except that would not, the math didn't add up, but you see
I
what
hear
I'm
you.
going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 70%, I think, is what was left. So that's what they do. And they don't have to then in the moment go, oh, I've got this extra $100. What am I going to do with it? It takes away that decision fatigue. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I think that is part of the issue, is just having to make those decisions in every single moment because money touches every area of our lives.
Yeah. So here's how I think that this can be beneficial to your clients and also to you as a coach as well. Um, for some reason, at least this is how I feel about it. I could be wrong, but what I've noticed is that the typical human behavior is that for some reason, if something is simple, we tend to think that it's not good.
Yeah.
And if something's complex, we tend to think that it is good. Now, that's just my observation. I could be totally wrong, right? But that's just what I've been seeing.
Hmm.
And I think that there's actually a lot of power in making things very simple for people. Because in a world that does not slow down ever for anyone, and in a world where there's decision after decision after decision, responsibility after responsibility after responsibility, I think what people are really looking for is just simplicity, right?
Hmm.
Something that they don't need to crack the code on all the time, kind of thing, right? So if we can build a system or we can build a program that is highly effective and it helps them see unbelievable results, but at the same time isn't overwhelming and is very simple, that's going to be very, very attractive to your prospects. Now, beyond that, too, it's not just what we're doing, what we build, and how we teach. I think it's also encouraging your clients to think this way as well. Like, so as you're going through, their audit, and you're maybe like, refining certain things, or you're building their budget for the first time or whatever, and you're making certain decisions on like, well, do we keep this? Do we raise this? Do we lower this? Do we cut this? That you actually tell them right out of the get go, like, I'm not going to be the person who's going to try and cut as much things as possible simply for the sake of seeing a number be larger at the end of the day. I'm
Mm,
not going to be that person. But what I do want to encourage you to do is I want you to make this be something that's going to be very clean, very simple, and feel very smooth, not just for your financial gain, but for your mental gain, your emotional gain, your physical surroundings, like whatever it might be. Simplicity is what we should be going for here, kind of
yeah,
thing. And
I
you
agree. And
empower them to make those decisions from there, you know?
yes, yes, amen to all of that. And I love that the end goal is not just to make a bottom dollar less.
Right,
Hmm.
right. It's to clear up and make room for things to grow, because you
Yeah.
can't think of a fish tank. You get a catfish as a pet, and you put it into a tank that's like, I don't know, 2 feet wide, 1 feet deep, uh,
Hmm.
2 feet tall, kind of thing.
Hmm.
That catfish is only going to grow so big. But then you put it into a tank that's maybe double or triple the amount of size of that original tank. Well, then all of a
Hmm.
sudden it has room to grow, and it will become a bigger catfish, kind of thing. Um,
Yeah,
and I think that that's what we need to do, is like, we need to be able to create space for these people so that they can grow.
I agree. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the fact that you want a catfish for a for a
You
pet.
know, I grew up in the country,
Yeah.
so I don't know why my brain went there, but it did. So
It's okay. It was a good analogy. It
I could
painted
have
the
said
picture that we
goldfish. I
needed.
really
Yeah,
could have, but
you could have, but you know what? Goldfish, no matter how much space you give them, they only grow a
mhm,
certain amount. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think the analogy is great. I'm just messing with you a little bit.
Mhm, mhm. Anywho,
Uh,
so the I think that the main point in this whole episode, um, is just that, like, if we can do one thing for our clients and for ourselves as well, that would be to really go towards
mhm,
simplifying without sacrificing the quality. I think that's really
yeah,
important. And I think that if you do it right, that simplification could actually enhance the quality.
agreed.
Now, how to do that? That's a whole different discussion, right? But at least planting that initial, seed in your brain to start getting those gears moving. I was like, well, how can I do that? I think that
Agreed.
that's what the point of this episode is today. So,
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you for having this discussion. I think it's kind of neat to just kind of see what's out in the world and then unpack it here with you
mhm.
in a very raw way that we don't plan it, and so it's
Yeah,
always
we
fun
kept
to
it
see
we
what
kept it
comes.
simple. You know,
Yeah, yeah, right. Sometimes our brains, when worked together, can feel more convoluted, but I do agree that we tend to bring it to a simplification. So thank you for that. I appreciate you. I
absolutely.
appreciate all of the listeners who have tuned in today. And I look forward to seeing, air quote, each of you next week on another episode of the Financial Coaches Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching.